The American trucking industry today employs more than 2 million people, the vast majority of them men, many of them older with no college education. The race to put driverless trucks on the road has been underway for several years now, leading many to wonder if those driver jobs are doomed. And yet, the industry is facing a driver shortage and has been for years. In this encore presentation of our weekly Making Sense series, economics correspondent Paul Salman asks who's right. How long before driverless trucks are the kings of the road, and what will it mean for the job now done by truckers?
I'm wondering if I missed my turn. What the hell am I going to do here?
Longtime trucker Finn Murphy inadvertently showing me how tough a job that truckers can be.
So what I need to do is turn around before I get to a low bridge or some other nightmare that I don't want to get involved in.
Despite such subtleties, though, says Murphy, the future of work on the road is just around the corner. The driverless truck.
I think it's imminent, yeah. I think it's going to happen within the next 3 years or so, where you have a level 4 autonomous vehicle, which means it doesn't need a human operator.
Finn Murphy is a long-haul human operator, has been since he dropped out of college in the early 80s. He's now at the top of the trucking hierarchy, driver and mover of pricey cargo like art.
And then we all have nicknames, right? So movers were called bed buggers.
Bed buggers?
Yep. And our trucks are called roach coaches because it has people's stuff in it. And then flatbed haulers, they're called skateboarders.
Bed buggers like Murphy driving roach coaches, which haul high-end merchandise, can gross $200,000 a year. Skateboarders, on the other hand, and other non-specialists in this increasingly deregulated, deunionized industry are paid $30,000 to $50,000.
Companies are struggling to find qualified commercial truckers who deliver 70% of all goods in this country.
The American Trucking Association projects a major shortage of drivers.
Along with the many hazards, something like a quarter of all work-related fatalities are truckers, and endless hours away from home, paltry pay explains what's become a chronic trucker shortage. But we're still talking some 2 million trucking jobs in America to be outcompeted completely by automation?
They've got their eyes on the prize. Get rid of drivers. Just pulls up like that.
But can programmers teach trucks to hook up the trailer, as a human can learn to do? Just about any human?
It's got to go all the way up. All the way. Then we put on the red one.
So this is lubrication.
That's This is very high-tech lubrication.
Connect the hoses.
In miles.
Check the oil.
This truck right now, it's got about 800,000 miles on it.
And you've got enough oil. Not to mention navigate rain, wind, sleet, or snow, and pedestrians. That's why Finn Murphy's boss, Will Joyce, thinks humans are still in the driver's seat.
Even if a truck had the capabilities for braking and guidance, and which is fantastic, the more the better for safety, but you're still going to need an operator, like a train needs a conductor.
But Murphy remains adamant.
I think they're in denial because it's already here. You know, we've already logged 23 million miles. I mean, there are autonomous trucks on the road right now.
We have a widespread shortage of truck drivers.
There's Volvo's Vera, the truck by startup Embark with no one in sight, Google Waymo, Daimler the Inspiration.
It looked like a truck where the driver had disappeared.
All seem to validate the trucker's lament, written and sung by econo-cruiser Merle Hazard. No one even asleep at the wheel.
Chips and software call the shots now. Roads will be for driving bots now. Old school highway cowboys lost the fight.
And yet, such visions may be a bit premature.
You can see right behind there, that's the radar system.
From Bristol, Connecticut, we flew to Portland, Oregon, home of Daimler Trucks North America, one of the world's leading producers of semis, now at work on automating them. 3 years ago in Nevada, Daimler showed off its Inspiration, the world's first road-licensed self-driving truck.
We have a radar up in front.
Steve Natick, Daimler's head engineer for mechatronics, showed us the newest Freightliner model. It has all the latest sensors and doodads, but can it operate without a driver yet?
Absolutely not. Not at this point.
All right, so when is that point going to be?
At this point, I cannot tell you. I can tell you what we're going to do. And we, Daimler Trucks, are going to take it step by step, safety by safety, use case by use case, to make sure that we're putting the safest truck on the road possible.
What we're likely to see, Natick says, at least in the short and medium term, is more automated features to make trucks safer and more fuel efficient. Automated transmission, of course, automated braking, autopilot for staying in the lane. But look, they're also still working in wind tunnels like this on old school stuff like aerodynamic styling to save fuel. And many of the newfangled features are already available on cars. For 80,000-pound, 53-foot long 18-wheelers, there's still a long way to go. In the next 3 years, says Steve Natick, the most we're likely to see is platooning, where, to decrease wind drag while increasing safety, multiple trucks can be electronically linked together. And when might you or I actually pull up alongside an autonomous truck? 5 years?
When we get to the point, I'll tell you right before we get there.
All right, 10 years.
10 years? Yeah, maybe not. I still think in 10 years, when we look at it, we'll still have a driver in the seat.
But as an engineer, I just assume that you believe that ultimately systems will be safer than people.
To be honest with you,
Yeah.
I don't know if we can put this on PBS. I've had a lot of beer discussions over that. Of can a human being ever be safer than a vehicle, or can a vehicle be safer than a human being?
Where are you before you have too much beer?
Before I've had too much beer. So I would tell you at this point in my career, I haven't seen the evidence to take the driver out of the seat.
And that seems to be the engineering consensus. Autonomous trucks in 10, 20, maybe 30 years. But even then, likely driving only the long stretches of open highway where conditions are the easiest and demand for drivers is greatest, before handing off to human drivers for the last mile into cities with their turns and twists, traffic lights, and us. So phew, right? Truckers can keep on trucking.
The biggest threat to truck drivers is not job loss in the near term.
Sociologist Steve Viscelli wrote the book on trucking, a book anyway, after driving a rig for 6 months himself. The biggest threat to truckers?
The loss of job quality. In particular, as automated features come online, it's going to allow the industry to use less skilled drivers, which will extend a long-term trend in trucking wages where drivers are earning less, working longer hours, staying out on the road for long periods of time. And automation could feed right into that, allowing the industry to use less skilled drivers.
That doesn't leave Finn Murphy, our long-haul driver and student of history, with a lot of hope.
I mean, we've had this problem in civilization for millennia.
Yeah.
The issue is what does a society decide if they have a role in helping these folks out? And if the average age is 55, what, these guys going to be computer programmers? But they didn't finish high school? I doubt it. Oh, look at these 3 pedestrians. Ladies, are you really doing this?
Yes, that's kind of amazing.
Now, how's a machine gonna view that? That's a good question.
Well, that's a very... From Bristol, Connecticut to Portland, Oregon, this is economics correspondent Paul Salman for the PBS NewsHour.